of Rock Boys football a monster last 24 hours for the Oklahoma Sooners as it pertains to the transfer portal late last night, landing the commitment of former five-star edge rusher Marvin Jones Jr. Now you wake up Monday morning, Kendall Daniels heading to Oklahoma. Let's start with Kendall Daniels. And I think Kendall Daniels is a fascinating kid that has done so many different things for the Oklahoma State defense over the last couple of years. Came in as a safety, played safety, a little bit of nickel during his early portions of his career. Now has kind of worked his way to the off-ball linebacker spot, and I love it. I think that's where he best fits. So you look at his film and say, Kendall Daniels as an off-ball linebacker, closer to the tackle box, closer to the line of scrimmage. That, to me, is where he has the biggest impact on a football game. And the versatility is next level for Kendall Daniels. Having been a safety, his ability to drop back in coverage, whether it's going out and tackling running backs in the flat, whether it's carrying tight ends up the seam, whether it's having really good feel for dropping back into your zone, you see that from Kendall Daniels, which is becoming more and more important at the off-ball linebacker position. I mean, you look at not just in the SEC, but really college football in general, it's about getting speed in space. And if you are an off-ball linebacker, you damn well better be a good athlete that can cover a lot of ground, because if you can't, you're going to get attacked by opposing offenses. So Kendall Daniels and his background at the safety position makes me really excited to see what he can do more closer to the line of scrimmage for Oklahoma in the 2025 year. And at the end of the day, this kid, he's a chess piece. There's not really anything you can ask him to do. And I think Brent Venables is going to have a field day in terms of how do we get this freaky dude involved in the front seven. I kind of see him a little bit like Deshaun McCullough, but just a more proven commodity at the position. Deshaun McCullough coming over from Indiana, he didn't. It was an edge rusher coming from Indiana, and they tried him at cheetah, they tried him at linebacker. Just it never really clicked. You look at Kendall Daniels, I think a very similar skill set to Deshaun McCullough. Just he's done it at a high level at Oklahoma State. I also want to talk about Marvin Jones Jr., talk about what this Oklahoma defense might look like in 2025. Now, before we get into it, as always, to the Oklahoma fans, been a blast. A lot of moving parts. Defensive coordinator hire that needs to take place. It's going to be a busy next couple of weeks. The amount of support y'all continue to show to the fellas means the absolute world. If you guys do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's get into this one, and let's start with Kendall Daniels. And I think you want to first say, again, to me, the closer this kid is to the line of scrimmage, the football, the bigger impact he has on the football game. He's been extremely productive at Oklahoma State, over 240 tackles, 24 tackles for a loss, 7.5 sacks, 13 pass breakups. You're getting a linebacker that, to me, checks off all the boxes. I think another thing that he brings to Oklahoma that you love is what he can do rushing the passer. Whether it's A or B blitzes, whether it's coming off the edge. We know Brent Venables wants to be aggressive with the front seven. He wants to bring pressure from a lot of different spots. Kendall Daniels being a proven pass rusher and affecting the quarterback, I think certainly makes him a good fit as well. And you look at the linebacker room and say Kip Lewis, Kobe McKenzie, I think, like, you feel good about Kip. I think Kip Lewis is going to be a stud for Oklahoma in 2025. I think a lot of Oklahoma fans feel the same way. But, Oklahoma wants to rotate their linebackers. You lose a guy like Deshaun McCullough. You lose a guy like Lewis Carter. Obviously, Danny Stutt's been going to the NFL draft. There was probably some depth that you wanted to address as well at the linebacker position. Not only do I think you get, a plug-and-play starter that can plug and play at a lot of different positions, but I also think you're getting a lot of depth and a lot of experience, too. This kid's played a lot of football for Oklahoma State over the last couple of years. Difference maker, defensive chess piece, and I think it's a perfect fit. If there's a coach that can maximize what Kendall Daniels can do on the football field, I think we all feel pretty damn good that it's going to be Brent Venables. Now, another commitment that I thought was really intriguing is Marvin Jones Jr. There's two ways to look at it. The one pessimistic way, which is not how we're going to look at it. When we're talking early January, we're talking about optimistic outlook, right? That's what January is about. The pessimistic side of things is, hey, Marvin Jones Jr. was a 5-star prospect, has every tool to be a really good football player, but hasn't really lived up to it. And what makes us think he's going into year 4? That's pessimistic. We're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about why to be excited about it. And I think where it starts is, look, Marvin Jones Jr., 5 stars out of high school come in all different shapes and sizes, right? You have guys that are just day one ready dudes that make an impact immediately. And then you have guys that are slower burns. I think PJ Adebawyor is a really good example of that as well. We knew, as gifted as PJ is, we knew he wouldn't be a force his first couple of years for Oklahoma. We knew it would take a little bit. Marvin Jones Jr. probably fell into that category as well. And I think what's exciting about it is, he played early at Georgia a little bit, not really a huge impact on the game. He goes to Florida State, and although has not looked like a 5-star player yet, he started to play better in the back half of 2024, and he definitely had his most productive and best season at the college football landscape. If you're an Oklahoma fan, you're saying, hey, what happens if he takes another step? And we all know that. I think the coaching staff for Oklahoma in terms of developing edge rushers is some of the best in the business, at least in my opinion. And so you're taking a guy that, again, has the tools to be really, really good. You're putting him with a really good coaching staff. He's going into year 4. You're clearly seeing that trajectory go in the right direction. What happens if Marvin Jones Jr. puts it all together for Oklahoma, which there's a really good shot he does? You're getting a guy that can go for 10 plus sacks. And you look at the edge rusher room, if our Mason Thomas comes back in it, I think he's gonna. That's just my I don't have any inside information, but he hasn't declared yet, and I think he probably would have declared if he was gonna go. You feel good about our Mason Thomas coming back, and then you put Marvin Jones Jr. here. You have a guy in PJ who's going into year 3, and this is kind of the year we think he breaks out. You have Danny Okoye going into year 2, and that's a lot of traits. And I look at that Oklahoma edge rusher room and say, with all of that talent and all of that potential, it's hard for me seeing it not being one of the better units in the SEC. And we all know it's where it starts, right? If you can stop the run and get after the passer, chances are you're going to have a pretty damn good defense. And it looks to me like Oklahoma is going to be able to stop the run and get after the passer. And quite frankly, they were able to do it in 2024. It's just the offense couldn't really help them out. You bring in John Mateer, in unquestionably going to make this offense better. You make some nice additions on the offensive line and the transfer portal, but to me, the offensive line, if the offensive line takes a massive step, it's not going to be from the transfer portal additions. It's going to be from the young talent that Coach Bill B has recruited and has coming up in the pipeline. If the offensive line gets better, you have, in my opinion, one of the best quarterbacks in the country in John Mateer. You have one of the best offense coordinators in the country in Ben Arbuckle, with a defense that, yes, it loses some guys, but still on paper, it's hard to look at and say it's not going to be good. This is a team that could have a massive bounce back here in 2025. And I think Marvin Jones Jr., Kendall Daniels are two guys that, look, it's hard to get bona fide, productive players. And at the end of the day, both of these guys are. Like Marvin Jones Jr., he wasn't a 5-star at Florida State. He's a damn good football player. And then Kendall Daniels been a damn good football player for Oklahoma State for the last couple of years. I mean, you're adding bona fide proven commodities with both of these players having tremendous upside as well. This is going to be a good defense. If this offense can take a step, which is hard to see it not getting somewhat better in 2025, I'm kind of excited to see the version of Oklahoma that we get in the 2025 year. We'll close it down there. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.